Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake, and what we're going to make is Italian pecan biscottis. This particular recipe does use a solid shortening, so if you don't prefer and you would prefer to have a recipe with oil, I do have 2 or 3 biscotti recipes already on my channel, so do check them out. This is really a good cookie when it's baked up. So let's get started. In your stand-up mixer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 2 cups of granulated sugar. Okay. And I'm going to cream in 1 cup of solid shortening. Okay. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to turn the mixer around and just cream the 2 till they're nice and smooth together. And I'm going to do that on medium speed. Raise it up just a little bit. Okay, and then I just want to get to the sides of my mixing bowl and get to the bottom a little bit. And we'll let it go for just a little bit longer. Okay. And once you've combined that nicely, we're going to be putting in 4 eggs that I went ahead and I beat them. And I've had them at room temperature. And we'll just beat in a little at a time till they're nice and smooth. And they become like a pale yellow color. And I'll raise my speed a little bit. Get all the rest of that beaten egg out of the bowl. And that shouldn't take you too long to do that. And I'm just going to beat it just for another second or 2. And it will look like this. Okay. And we're now going to be putting in vanilla. And you're going to be using 1 tablespoon of vanilla. And I'll beat that in. That was 1 tablespoon. And again, just beat it until it's really smooth and well combined. Okay, for our dry ingredients, you're going to use anywhere from 4 to even 4.5 to even 5 cups of flour. It's going to be depending when you put it together, the look of the cookie dough, the feel, and I'll explain when I get there. Right now in this bowl though, I have 4 cups, and I generally use about 4.5. Very seldom do I use 5, but I always keep a half a cup out ready to go, so we'll see how it goes. But this is 4 in the bowl, and you will be putting 2 teaspoons of baking powder to your flour. And I'm just going to use my spoon and mix that in, stir it in. Okay. And we'll start putting in the flour slowly. So we don't want it to go all over the kitchen. So Try to raise our speed a little bit. Put a little at a time. Okay. Now that was 4. I'll raise it up. And this is when I really do check the dough. This particular dough is quite sticky to work with. You can actually wet your hands a little bit when you handle it. If it's a little feeling like there's too much shortening in it or too much fat in it, that's when I decide to go for more flour. And I do believe that this batch needs more flour. So I'm going to put in about 1/4 of that flour and test it. And if it has a drier consistency, that's all that I'm going to put in. Okay. And it still feels like it needs just a little more. So I'm going to put the rest of that flour in. That was 4 1/2. And then I'll just beat that in. There are times that I have actually used close to 5 cups. So you're going to have to play it by ear when you make it for yourself. You're also going to need a cup of chopped nuts, and I'm going to put those in. Now, if you don't like pecans, you can use almonds or pistachios or whatever kind of nut that you like. And I'm going to beat that in. Okay. And then on a cookie sheet or pan, I do like to lightly grease mine. I'm going to get the paddle out of here first here. There we go. And take off the excess cookie dough. Okay. There we go. Okay. And lift the bowl off. And we'll set that aside for the moment. And I just want to scrape the sides and get all the cookie dough together here so I can show you what it looks like. And I'm going to put a little flour on my countertop. Just so it won't stick easily. And I'm going to take this cookie dough out of here. I'm just going to kind of grab it here with my clean hands here. Okay. And get the rest of it out. Okay. This is a great cookie for a cup of with a cup of coffee or tea or cappuccino or an espresso. And what I like to do is just make a big rectangle out of the dough, cookie dough, okay? And then what I like to do is actually cut it in half. Now, if you want to make the cookie smaller, you can do actually thirds. Cut it in thirds instead of halves. And then while I have the log almost pre-made, then I just take my fingers and my palm and start stretching it out. Generally, I like to make them at least about 14 inches. They can go as long as 15 inches. This is quite thick, so you know you do want to get that length from it. And I'm going to bring it in a little bit here because I try to do it about 3 inches across. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it in. When it bakes, it is going to puff up. Square off your edges as nicely as you can. See that the flattened log is as even as you can get it. It molds quite well with your hands, so it's pretty easy. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's just a little over 3, and it came out about 14. What you also can do is actually form it on your cookie pan too, if you don't want to lift it. And you're going to make, in this particular, I'm making 2 big logs here, flattened logs. I just want to square this off a little bit. And then again, you might find it's easier just to lay it down on your cookie sheet and then just again spread it out, get that length out of it. I usually like to get it where I'm just reaching the end of my pan here. And then just start bringing it in, narrowing it off, and square off the edges. I try to not leave too many of my finger marks on top of the cookie. If you cut them a little bit different in size, if they're not exactly halves, one will come out maybe a little bit smaller than the other. Okay? And what you do next is, of course, you put them in the oven to bake them at 350 degrees, and it generally can take 20 to 25 minutes. So I like to start checking mine about 18 minutes or so, because as we do know, all ovens do set up so differently. Once that they do bake up, they will be a light golden brown. Okay, when they do come out of baking, put them on a cooling rack, and I like the cookies to sit out for like maybe 10 or even 15 minutes. At that time, get a serrated knife, and you generally will cut these cookies on a diagonal. And depending how big you want to make them, I generally try to cut like 3-inch slices, 3/4 of an inch slices for them. I generally get maybe about 22 cookies. It really depends on the size of the way that you cut it. Now, once they're baked, after that 20-25 minutes or so, once again to repeat, I cut them in 3/4 slices on a diagonal or on an angle. And then I put them back in the oven, the same temperature, for 350 minutes. And again, I bake them twice bake. In other words, on each side, anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes or so, maybe shy of 7. And then flip them over and then bake them again, the slices, again, that 6, 7, or 8 minutes. But check them, because again, you don't want them to get too overdone, over baked, that kind of thing. Okay. I'm going to rinse my hands real quick here. And this is a relatively pretty easy recipe to make. And I'll show you what they do look like once they're all baked up. And they will come out looking like this. They really come out so beautiful. And you don't have to put any type of drizzle chocolate over it. If you don't want to, you can just dust them with powdered sugar, and they taste fantastic. What I did was nothing really fancy, but I took 6 ounces of these vanilla, they're vanilla drops really, but they're, the coloring is orange, but they are vanilla. And then I melted another 6 ounces of milk chocolate with a tablespoon of solid shortening with the chocolate, and melted them, and then just drizzled the orange on there first, and then I let it dry a little bit, and then I drizzled the chocolate over them. And you can see how pretty that they came out, and they have a beautiful golden brown on the other side. So there you have it, Italian pecan biscottis. I hope you like this recipe, and if you do, leave a comment because I'd like to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.